What's up, barbecue fans? Today we're talking all about pellet grills, and I'm sharing with you 7 things you need to know about a pellet grill. Let's get into it. So whether you're doing some research about getting a new pellet grill, you're brand new to having one, or maybe you've had one for a little while, lots of these tips you're gonna find helpful. Let's start with number 1, pellet quality matters. Now, wood pellets. There are a ton of manufacturers out there, and there are some huge differences between the lower quality ones and the higher quality ones. Now remember, pellets are your fuel source, right? We want to burn a nice hot fire, especially if you have a pellet grill like my Yoder YS640S here that can get up to 600 degrees and sear. You want a good quality pellet to get up to those temperatures. However, the other thing to understand is that pellets are also your flavor. So that's going to provide the majority of your smoke when you're smoking meats and getting into the barbecue side of things. So it's really important to have a good quality pellet. Now, I've probably been 5.5 years since I came back to pellet grills. I used one for a while 15 years ago or whatever, but and I've tried 9, 10, 11 different types of pellets. And I have a video that I did where I tried to do a comparison, and I couldn't narrow down my top 3, where my top 2 were pretty close. But the ones before that, you could definitely tell, right? Couple rules of thumb. In my general experience, don't use a pellet from the brand of pellet grill you have, right? Traeger makes pellets, Pit Boss makes pellets, Camp Chef makes pellets, right? They are in the business of selling you a pellet grill. They are now getting into the pellet game because it's reoccurring revenue and it adds value, because if they just sold a pellet grill, it's a one-time sale, right? Pellets allow for that reoccurring revenue. And I mean, they've been doing it for a long time. I'm not saying they just started doing this. It's honestly, it's smart business sense if you think about it. However, in my experience, most of those are not very good quality. I've tried a bunch. Today, my go-to is Bear Mountain Barbecue. These are oak pellets here. They come in all kinds of different varieties, but I've done extensive testing and I've had great luck with Bear Mountain Barbecue. I like the flavor of the product, and I can do some high heat. On the Yoder, I've got the wood-fired oven attachment, and I can get up to over 700 degrees in there to do some Neapolitan-style pizzas, and you need a good quality pellet to do that. The second important thing you need to know is to keep your pellets dry. You can see we're not using our Yoder today, so I've got my cover on here, right? My hopper is here, my pellets go in there. If I'm not using this is covered at all times. I don't want any water going into my hopper, because what happens, these things, when they get a little bit of water, they kind of break apart into this mush. I mean, but they expand, right? Because it's really tightly compressed wood, so they expand, and all of a sudden when it dries, you would not believe how hard it dries. I made the mistake of getting water into my hopper one time. I have a whole video on it. I'll put a video up here, or a link up here, in case you ever run into that problem. But like, even hitting a screwdriver took a lot of effort to break up the pellets to get them back out once they had dried up, okay? So keep them dry. My general rule of thumb is I don't mind keeping them inside the hopper as long as I've got the cover on them. Look, I haven't used this. I took about a month break, and we had tons of rain, and I came out and I used this, no problem. Keep the pellets inside. I keep all mine in my garage, especially if there's an open bag. Seal it tight and try and keep it inside if you can, or get a table or a bench or like some type of cabinet that you can put them inside to protect them from the elements. The third important thing you need to know about a pellet grill is keep your firebox clean. Now, if you're new to a pellet grill or doing a little research, you're gonna learn about the fact that you've gotta vacuum them out and keep them clean. These pellets produce ash that goes all over the bottom of your pit, and you've got to vacuum it out. Now, here's something to understand. You don't have to vacuum the entire thing every single time, right? What you need to have is a clean firebox. So vacuum out the firebox if it's not removable. In the case of the Yoder, we've got this little tray that goes in there, and we've got the remnants of the previous burn there. I pull out that tray and I just dump it inside. I don't vacuum this out. I mean, I might vacuum it out once a month or something like that, right? Unless I'm using the wood-fired oven, then I clean it every time because I don't want any ash floating around there. But if you're having a problem with flameouts, the reason why you're having that problem is because you didn't clean your firebox properly. I hear about it all the time, and it's almost always a firebox problem. Keep that clean before every single cook, and it'll just help ensure that you can do a long smoke without any problems. Number 4, a smoke tube is helpful. Now, I want to put an asterisk there because you can overdo it, right? Here's the deal. Pellet grills, pellet smokers, whatever you want to call them, they have a little fire burning down there, right? And when we're burning 160, 180, 200, 225, we're burning a very small fire, and we're able to produce more smoke. 250, not too bad. But once you go beyond 250, you really start to have a deterioration of the amount of smoke that you can produce because you're starting to burn too clean of a fire, right? So in the beginning, I will usually smoke at a lower temperature if I've got the time. Enter this $20 device, right? I just did a whole video of this. I will link it up here, but I talk about all the pros and tips and my kind of rules of thumb when it comes to using one of these. But essentially what we're doing is we're going to fill this with wood pellets or wood chips. We're going to light it with a torch. We're going to let it burn. And what this is going to do is this is going to supplement your smoke. We're going to put it off to the side. And because a pellet grill has fans going in there and circulating that air, it helps keep that pellet tube burning clean, and you can add some extra smoke to some of your longer cooks. Now listen, you can overdo it, right? So my rule of thumb is half the cook can have a smoke tube. If I'm doing ribs, and I know they're going to take 4 hours, I will use 2 hours of smoke. If I'm doing a pork butt that's going to be 9 hours, I'm going to use one whole tube because I'm going to get 4 to 5 hours of smoke. My only caveat is when I do brisket, I do 2 smoke tubes, so I actually get 8 to 9 hours of smoke in that 12 to 14 hour cook. I think you can do it there. But you know, lots of people I've read or have emailed me, and what they do is they put in 2 smoke tubes at the same time, or they use a smoke tube the entire time. You're going to end up with a poor quality product. You got to remember, smoke is supposed to complement your meat. It's supposed to be like a seasoning, right? Nothing wrong with having it a little bit more smokier, but if smoke's overpowering everything, that's not smoked food, that's terrible food, right? Lots of people don't like smoked food, and one of the most common reasons is because someone didn't know what they're doing. They ran a dirty fire, so the taste is a little bit bitter, or they oversmoked the heck out of it, and someone just like, oh, this is doesn't taste right to me, right? When you're in the game and in the backyard doing some barbecue, you know, you like that smoke flavor, and to you, a little bit extra is no big deal. Sometimes you just think it's better. To your guests, I can guarantee you it's not, right? Just should complement what you're doing. So use a smoke tube if you're doing some longer cooks, and it's gonna help you produce a better end product. Number 5, and this is an important one, all smokers are different. Now, if you're anything like me, even to this day, my wife calls it food porn, I watch a ton of YouTube videos, right? Helps me learn just like you're doing, but long before I started my YouTube channel, that's a big part of how I learned, right? The challenge is that, you know, I have a pellet grill. I've got a Kamado style egg, big green egg, Kamado Joe, and then I've got an offset. All of those smokers cook completely differently. So when you're watching other videos to learn how to cook a brisket, right? Study other videos because there's a lot of valuable tips there. However, make sure that it's with a similar smoker that you're looking at, or at least learn how to adjust, right? Like an offset, for example, loves to run at 275 all day long. And when you think about the times of that meat cooking, it's gonna cook a little quicker. A pellet grill, on the other hand, once you get up to 275, I will do that near the end of the cook, but I'm not producing as much smoke. So I always start lower, or sometimes I might rock it at 225, hence the shirt, for the entire cook. It's gonna take a little bit longer, but I'm gonna get a much better smoke product at the end of it, so it's worth the extra time. Pellet grills are gonna take a little longer to cook. Now, a Kamado style cooker is going to cook faster. Why? Because that's the beauty of them. You have 360-degree heat firing at your meat, and you're gonna get a faster cook. So there's nothing wrong with studying other videos. Just remember that if you're doing something like an offset video, it's going to cook a lot quicker. So don't think about the time and reduce your temperatures to match the pellet grill that you're using. That leads me to number 6. Tenderness is king. Now this is an important one, right? As you're learning barbecue, you're going to learn about cooking temperatures, cooking times, and what temperature meat is done at, okay? Lots of people are diehard, I've got to wrap my brisket at 165 because that's what I heard. Or my brisket's done at 203 because that's what you heard. There is no hard set rules to barbecue. The great thing about barbecue is that you can do it a million different ways. I mean, just look at all the barbecue joints in Texas, and the top 50 changes all the time. There's someone new that comes in the game, and they're doing a little bit different, right? That is the beautiful thing about barbecue. You can make it your own. However, it's important to understand that the temperatures you're hearing are purely for reference. They are not set in stone things, right? What you want to get is you want to get yourself an InstaRead. This guy here is a ThermalWorks. This is an old one, MK4. I should probably break down and buy the newer one at some point in time here. But, you know, this is going to give me some temperature, but the most important thing on here is this tip. I'm going to put it into my meat and I'm going to feel around to feel how tender it is, right? When a pork shoulder or a brisket is properly done, it's going to feel like warm peanut butter. There should be no resistance, right? Maybe just on the very edge, maybe you've got a nice little bark and it's a little hard, but once you're into that meat, it should be like warm peanut butter and you should feel all over. Forget about the temperature, right? Tenderness is what's gonna tell you how and when your meat's done, right? So you've got to develop the skill of feeling your meat, looking at the meat, right? And forget about time. Every single piece of meat is completely different. Every smoker is different. Every batch of pellets is different, right? Like there's gonna be some variation. So you've gotta use a InstaRead to probe your meat, and that'll just ensure you make the best product possible. That leads us to our final one. This is an important one. Practice makes perfect. Now listen, if you're learning about barbecue, you're probably watching some YouTube. The one thing you need to understand about YouTube and social media in general is people like to show perfect, right? You're gonna see a lot of perfect cooks by a lot of people. You're also gonna check out some channels. People have been doing it for 10, 15 years and they've got it down to a science. I like to show my mistakes. I don't practice any of my cooks. There's lots of times in the channel where I'm gonna cook something for the very first time and I just turn on the camera and roll with it. If I make a mistake, I'm gonna share it. I believe that failure is life's greatest teacher. So the thing that you take away from failure is a lesson. As long as you learn something from it and apply it, keyword apply it, then you're gonna get better. That's just part of life. So backyard barbecue is not perfect. I don't edit it out or anything like that. I like to share it. So with that being said, my brisket today, 5 years after starting my YouTube channel versus 5 years ago, is night and day different, right? Even 5 years ago, I'd already been smoking meat for 20 years, right? But I thought I had a pretty good product. And then the one thing that YouTube gave me is the push to get better, right? I've got to be trying different techniques. I've got to, record more videos. So it really pushed me to get my brisket to the next level. But remember, I have over 500 cooks on my Yoder in the last 5 years, right? I'm cranking out videos almost every weekend, all year round. So, the average backyard person is cooking 20 or 30 times, right? They're fair weather smokers, so they're spring to fall, and then they're taking the winter off, right? So I get a lot more experience in a quicker condensed time. If you're trying to fast track your pellet grill game, I have a website. You can go to this link. It's pelletgrillsecrets.com/level-up. I have a whole course there. It's not even a course. It's a digital download. It's 44 pages with over 200 images, and I share my best secrets and tips on 9 different most common barbecue items. If you actually have the Yoder, you can add on the wood-fired oven. Talks all about pizza and everything like that. But check that out. I'll link it below. That'll be helpful in fast-tracking your game. But look, you gotta still practice. It's not gonna be this magic wand that we wave and all of a sudden you're turning out perfect barbecue. So hopefully you got some value of this video. Listen, if you're interested in learning more about a pellet tube, I've got a whole video. I'm gonna link it right here. I talk about all my tips and tricks on using one of these, and this will be super helpful. Thanks as always for watching. I'll see you soon.